Hi, I'm Benji Hardy. I've got your news headlines for Friday, January 29th. We'll start off with a couple of reminders about deadlines coming up. Sunday is the deadline to purchase health insurance on healthcare.gov for the coming year. The open enrollment period for 2016 ends on January 31st. And remember that the penalty for not having health coverage in 2016 will sharply rise this year to $695 per adult, or 2.5% of household income, whichever is greater. So make sure to get covered if you don't have insurance. Also, Monday is the last day that Arkansans can register to vote if they want to participate in the Republican or Democratic presidential primaries, or primary elections in general, rather, which are happening here in Arkansas on March 1st. Also on that date, judicial elections, including a couple of crucial races for Arkansas Supreme Court, and for voters in Pulaski County, an election on a proposed 1/4 cent sales tax to modernize the county's bus system. So make sure to register. Speaking of elections, the first in the nation Iowa caucuses are happening on Monday. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee is hoping to pull off a miracle. He's polling right now behind Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio, Ben Carson, Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, Rand Paul, and John Kasich. So short of a wildly better than expected performance on Monday, it seems likely that he will be dropping out of the race after the Iowa caucuses. But for the time being, Huckabee's still fighting. He's in fact been joined by a couple of supporters from Arkansas. Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge, who worked on Huckabee's more successful campaign for president back in 2008, arrived in Iowa on Thursday to campaign for her former boss. Arkansas Treasurer Dennis Milligan and an assortment of other Arkansans are there as well. Lately, Huckabee's super PAC has aired a fairly nasty ad targeting Ted Cruz, who's number 2 in the Republican field in Iowa after Trump. The 30-second spot accuses the Texas senator of being insufficiently opposed to same-sex marriage and of also tithing too little at church. So it sounds like a campaign that's not long for the world. Though Huckabee's star may have faded, Arkansas is going to get a dose of the next big thing in the Republican Party when Donald Trump comes to Little Rock next week on February 3rd. Trump is coming to Barton Coliseum next Wednesday at 5 p.m. The event is free, but if you want to see him, you should register online for tickets beforehand. Moving on, a special prosecutor in a high-profile child death case in Hot Springs won't meet his self-imposed deadline at the end of the month to decide whether to file charges against Garland County Circuit Judge Wade Naramore. A little background, Naramore's son, 18-month-old Thomas Naramore, died in July after being left inside a hot car. Naramore called 911 the day his son died, and the family has said that the death was accidental. Naramore has not been back on the bench since the death occurred. Scott Ellington of Jonesboro, the prosecuting attorney for the 2nd Judicial District, was named a special prosecutor last summer, but the case has attracted widespread public attention for how slowly it's moved, with some asking whether Naramore is receiving special treatment because of his position. Prosecutor Ellington told KARK today that he plans to have a decision about whether to file charges very soon, but said, quote, "I'm not going to set another deadline." Finally, the latest skirmish in Arkansas's abortion wars, it's all about semantics. The State Board of Health voted yesterday 12-6 to remove the phrase death of the unborn child from abortion regulations passed by the legislature in 2015, as well as the remnants of a 2013 abortion law that was largely struck down by an appellate court. Again, this is just all about what language is used. The regulations that the State Board passed would instead keep the current definition of abortion, which is termination of the pregnancy, rather than death of the unborn child. Governor Asa Hutchinson and the legislature have to approve the regulations to change the language. The governor said that he opposes the board's decision to stop using that phrase. Unsurprisingly, State Senator Jason Rapert is also unhappy with that decision. He took to social media today to accuse the State Board of making, quote, "a very poor decision to defy the legislature and defy the law," and he called for the resignation of members who voted to remove the phrase. That's it for Friday. We'll be back on Monday with news from the caucuses.